students, and this week we're going to use Adobe Photoshop, and we are just going to create a document and add a photo to it and throw a little text below it. And I just want to go through the interface of Adobe Photoshop and show you 3 things on that and then create a document. So I'm going to open Photoshop and I'm going to go to the very top and say File, or I'm sorry, I'm going to go, I'm going to say Create New, and I am going to choose Art, and I am going to create a document. And I'm just going to call this, I'm going to name it Photoshop document.
80 at a uphit photo DOCUMT.
My computer likes to talk to me as I type, as you see. Over in this right corner, just like we did with Illustrator, I'm going to change this to inches. And this time I am going to make this 8 inches. 8 IN.
IN.
And
N.
11.
1.
And my resolution, I'm going to make that 250.
250.
And that's pixels per square inch. Okay? And once I have that, I'm going to go down to Create. And you'll see I have a document. So here's Photoshop, right? And the way I bring things into Photoshop normally, I go to File and I say File Open. That allows me to bring a photo in. When I want to create a document, such as I did here, I go File New, and it opens that window that we just saw, that tab. And then I can make the size of it, the width times the height, right? So the width is going across horizontally, and the height is the vertical aspect. So here's what I want to talk about in Photoshop today. Over on the left, you have your Tools panel. And every time I open a tool or change tools, let's say I chose the Type tool, the Option bar, which is this bar that's going directly across the top of my workspace. This is my workspace. This is my Tools panel. This is my Option bar. Over on the right, I have a Layers panel and a Properties panel right on top of it. Photoshop works in layers, right? So right away, I brought in this document. It created a layer for me. If I wanted to add another layer, I would just go down to this bottom icon where it has a little plus sign and click on that, and it adds a new layer, right? Just like anything in Adobe, I can go back one step by just pressing Command, and that's just left to right, the first key left to right of your space bar on your keyboard. I can press that Command key down and then press the letter Z key, and I go back one step. So that layer I just added, you see, is gone now. If I chose this half moon down here to add something like maybe I wanted to add a curves layer, I can always go back one step again by pressing Command Z. The other option that Photoshop has that, let's say, Adobe Illustrator doesn't have is it has a history. So if I go up to the very top tab, up to where it says Window, and I click on that, I can look for history. There it is here. And I click on that, and it opens up a history panel over here. And anything that I do, let's say I let's say I added a couple layers. Let's say I went over here and added a curves layer again, and I have this, and I wanted to go back to where I first started on that background layer. I can go up to the history panel and go to that very first new, and it takes me back there. Now if I want to go back just halfway, I can click on a couple steps down. It shows every step I made, right? So that's what I wanted to show you about the layers panel and the history panel. We'll go much more in the depth with that later, but for now, knowing how to get your history by going to Window and again finding history and just clicking on it opens that panel. I can close it just right here by hitting those arrows, and it's closed, and it just stays right there. I can click on it again and open close. All right, so we have our tools panel on the left with all tools. Every time I change tools, the option bar on the top changes. If I grab the crop tool, you'll see the option bar changed. If I go back to, let's say, the gradient tool, that changes. So pay attention to when you grab a new tool. And the default tool that you want is the very top one on the left, and it's just the move tool, and it allows me to move things around. Here's the other one I wanted you to show you, which is the how to reset your workspace. I showed you, some of you before probably, and just for the sake of this video, I'm gonna mess this up a little bit. I'm gonna close my tools panel. I'm gonna come over here and close this panel. So all of a sudden, my workspace looks completely different. I don't have a layers panel. I can't do anything over there. I don't have a tools panel. I can't do anything over there. How do I get it back? I want you to come away from this class at least with this, right? At least with knowing how to reset this workspace. So I go up to Window. I go to Workspace. I come over to this other window that's opened, and I go to Reset Essentials. And I click on that, and magically my layers and properties panel is back. My tools panel is back. I'm good, right? So you learned how to go back a step. Command plus the letter Z, those two keys held down together take you back one step. You learned how to add some layers, and you learned the history panel of the go back in time, right? What if we could just do that with our lives? Wouldn't that be fantastic? All right, so let's add something to this document that we made. I want to put something in it, right? So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put a photo in there. I can add a photo in Photoshop at any time. I can just go to File and say Open, and it'll go to my computer and it'll look for something on my computer. Unless I get the beach ball of death going like I have right now, winding its time. So let me find a photo. I'm gonna find this one here. I'm just gonna grab these people dancing, and it brings in that photo, right? But what if I want to go back to my document, and you see that anytime I add something, it shows up right at the top of my workspace, right? If I click on this over here, that is my document that I made earlier. If I click on this here, that's that photo. What if I want to put that photo into that document and create a flyer for something, right? I can go up to File, and instead of going new, or open, I'm going to go down to where it says place embedded. And I'm going to click on that. It's going to go back to my computer and look around my computer, and I can direct it to wherever that photo is, if it's in one of my folders, or if it's on my desktop, or I have it on an external drive. I'll look for it. So I'm going to hit place embedded, and I'm going to go get that same photo, and I'm going to click on there, and I'm going to come down to the bottom right and say place, and it places it in there. Now it's not fitting the way I want. How do I make that adjustment? Right now it has it like in a crop position. I'm going to go up to edit and say free transform, and that's how it allows me to change it around. So again, if I just placed it and it comes in and it covers that document and I don't want it, I'm going to go to edit, free transform, and you'll see to the right it has this little symbol plus the letter T. That symbol is the same symbol on my command T, and it tells me that I can just hit the command key and the letter T to do the same thing that I am by clicking on this, right? So if I click on that, it does that. If I hit this little check mark, it places it for me. I'm going to go back and just hit my command key and my letter T, and it does the same thing as me going to edit. So what I want to do is I want to hold down my shift key, and the shift key on the bottom is right above the control key, which is on the very left. If I hold that down and hover over the top corner of this image, I'm just going to left click, and I'm holding down that shift key, and the shift key allows me to resize the photo without bending the perspective. So let's just say, for example, if I didn't hold down the shift key, and if I start dragging this, I can, mess this photo up and reshape it. But if I hold down the shift key, it keeps that perspective, right? It keeps things, it keeps me from stretching it. Once I have it at a smaller size, I'm going to grab right in the middle, left click, and I'm going to place it right there. And when I have it, let's say I could put it on the bottom or the top. When I have it, I'm just going to go up to this top where that check mark is and check that. Okay? So that's what I want you to do for this assignment. Create a document, 8 by 11, 250 resolution, and then come up to edit or place embedded, find a photo of your choice, put it in there. And here's the last thing I want to do. I want you to go to the tools panel and come down to the text tool. Now watch the option bar. When I click on this, I'm going to left click on this. It's going to change the option bar up at the top. So here I go. Click on that, and it has the fonts that I could use when I type the text. It has whether it's regular or bold or italic. It also has the size over here of my text. So I'm just going to go down here to the bottom. Here's the text tool. I'm going to left click, and I'm going to start typing. And I'm going to type couple dancing. And now that I have that, I'm going to go to the very end to it or the very front of it with my cursor and left click, holding it down and just highlighting that. Now I can go back up to that option bar and look at some of the different fonts, and it'll show me how I'm changing it, right? So I'm going to choose Blockhead, and then I'm going to change the size. So I'm going to come over here where the points are at, And I'm going to make it about 72. Yep. And I think I might want to change the color inside of that. And I can do that by either going to the top or over here to the right. I'm just going to click on the top. I double click on that. And I'm going to change this color to green. Okay. And then I click over here somewhere outside of it. And I can look over here on the right, and you'll see anytime I use the text tool, it creates another layer for it. So I'm just going to move that around like right there. And I created a document. I put a picture in it. I added some text. That's all I really want you to do in this assignment. What I wanted you to do was just kind of get familiar with the interface, see where the tools panel is at, see where the layers panel is at, the option bar at the top. Know how to reset your workspace by going to Window, Reset, Reset Essentials, and Command Z, right? And the history panel. So play around with those 4 things I mentioned and create a document, bring a picture in, and add some text. When I'm done, I'm going to go to File, I'm going to say Save As, and I'm going to say Save on my computer, and I'm going to save this as a Photoshop document or .psd file. I'm going to put it on, let's see, I'm going to put it into my edited photos. So I know where it's going. I know it's a Photoshop document, PSD. I can rename this and call it couple
C O U E couple D N D D X up G.
And he says that for me, thank you, and save it. I also want to save it as a JPEG. So I'm going to go back after I have that. I'm going to say save as, and I'm going to say save on my computer, and I'm going to change this format here to JPEG. Oh, it's not going to let me do that. Why is that?
D S P M M J P G.
There we go. A JPEG, JPG.jpg, and I'm going to save it that way as well. All right, and that's it. Happy Photoshop, happy Illustrator, happy graphic design, happy